All right, let's get to work.
3, 2, 1.
Let's do this.
The Phoenix Music Scene on the YetiRadio.com. The Yeti Radio, powered by DavidLeeImaging.com.
It's alive!
The Yeti.
Welcome, everybody. I am the Yeti. Welcome to the YetiRadio.com, live on YouTube, also feeding on YetiRadio.com. Tonight, we have a special guest, Mr. Brandon Decker from Sedona, Arizona, coming in with a special announcement and some exciting stuff going on with some great new music and an awesome interview set for tonight. And we're going to lead it off with one of the singles from the new album coming out. This is Supernova by Decker, right here on the Yeti Radio.
If you're alive for a moment, you're alive for a lifetime too. And when we die and this body, still the light of the spirit shines through. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm a real life too. I'm alright, I'm alright, I'm alright, I'm a real life too. If I give you all the love that I can give, then all my love is you. And if my sins are forgiven, then forgiveness is my gift to you. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm a real life too. I'm alright, I'm alright, I'm alright, I'm a real life too. A second-hand shot adored in the fires of love. No storming first on the shores of love. It doesn't mean I'm sleepwalking to you. I'm only trying to see right through you. Why walk with a ghost when what's done is done? From the past to the present, to the veil of a vision pursued, to the never-ending litany, what we're seeking, what we try to consume. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm a real life too. I'm alright, I'm alright, I'm alright, I'm a real life too. What would think of it all when we knew we never really had a clue? Such a surprise when you find that it's a lie that you could choose and could lose.
The Yeti's at it again with all sorts of mistakes right in the beginning of the show. Welcome, Brandon. Sorry about that.
No problem. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes. Well, thank you for joining me. Looking forward to the rest of your album. I've got three singles that you've released so far,
Right,
that have hit the New Music Monday show, and that's been awesome.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
No, absolutely. It's a whole lot of fun. Real quick, we'll get into some of the basics, and for anybody that doesn't know who you are, how long have you been in music?
Well, I've been making music as Decker since 2009.
Okay.
I had a band before that in Phoenix that I don't discuss much. My first band was 2007. And I guess I probably started making music when I was a late bloomer. I was about 21.
Okay.
And when I finished college, I was just like, this is what I want to do. And
awesome.
Chased it hard for about 20 years. And I don't know what to make of the whole mess.
Right. I have to agree with you, trying to chase everybody down and enjoy all of it. It's definitely a task. So what are some of your biggest highlights so far? And as being a musician?
Of my career?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I could probably ramble on and on about that. Not that there was so much great stuff. I think there's a lot of like moral victories that have happened. Things like playing with people that I listened to when I was young. We had it might sound funny, but the band I've seen the most live in my life was Primus.
Okay.
And one time we played McDowell Mountain Music Festival on the same stage with Les Claypool's duo De Twang. That was kind of surreal. Played with a band Rusted Root once that I listened to a lot when I was in my teens. So played with a few acts that I grew up listening to, and that was cool. I mean, similarly, this album we just made, we made in the same room that Tool made Enema, which was a pivotal album for me in my teens. I mean, I must have burnt a hole in that CD.
I'm sure.
And so that was kind of a moment to be grateful for. I think probably on the more philosophical level, just traveling the country for many years and meeting people, making friends that are still friends. I mean, in the early days, there was a lot of like pull into a town and we just announced from the stage we didn't have a place to stay, and someone would have us into their home, and then
awesome.
These people are friends now. So that's a special thing, and I'm just grateful to have created a lot of art. This is our 8th album, and I feel like all of them are really these meaningful snapshots of I guess what my experience that I want to share is, and I feel like it's a wonderful body of work that I have for anyone who's interested to listen.
Awesome. So what is your music philosophy?
I don't know if I have a philosophy. I've just answered when the call was to create it. Someone else pointed out to me today, it's been 5 years since my last record, which in my early years I was putting them out almost once a year. So I guess it's been a while. For me, I just write when I feel like there's something that wants to come out.
Right.
And so that's the writing philosophy. Past that, I just really enjoy making music with other people. Most of the people in my band have been there for years, and it's like a family. So it's it's just a special thing to get to share and with other people, and I love to perform with people. So my philosophy for performing now is I'm very selective. I played a lot of shitholes and dive bars and coffee shops, and I really try to only play in a setting that I know is really set up for what I want out of it, which is I want to share energetically and have that received and given back, so that it's kind of like a container where we're all there for the same thing. Otherwise I could just do it at home. I mean, to go out, I really want it to be like a ceremony.
Yeah, definitely an awesome experience for sure. So, who are your biggest influences when it comes to how you write, what you write, when you lay stuff out? It's
everything that I've ever been impacted by. Like it's like this new album. I mean, there's quite a cross section of genres. I mean, there's like a doo-wop song. There's a kind of R&B song. That the Supernova that we were just listening to was really influenced by Portishead. I love Bob Dylan, John Lennon, Neil Young, Patti Smith. P.J. Harvey, Nick Cave, Louis Armstrong. Fats Domino, Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry. I mean, everything that I've listened to kind of, I suppose probably every artist is that way in some way. Everything you hear, you kind of, the things that resonate with you become a piece of you cellularly, and then that, kind of informs what you then create.
Okay. You've had a pretty awesome career so far. You've probably collaborated with some. Is there anybody that you haven't collaborated with, maybe, that you would still like to collaborate with one day, maybe?
Oh, on my way over here, I was actually thinking I would like to make a song with Jim James for my Morning Jacket.
Okay.
And I actually dealt with his manager when I was making this record because he managed the guy who mixed it. And, so I'm that close to Jim James. I was thinking, the next thing I do, I want to hit up Jim James. If you're not familiar with him, I really recommend his band, My Morning Jacket, and his solo work.
Okay.
His just beautiful songwriting.
Awesome. We'll definitely check that out. Do you have any pre-show rituals?
Sometimes more than others. There was a phase where we were we would do yoga and then burn things and spray things. Now, one thing I definitely do before every show is vocal warm-ups. Definitely, it's critical. I tell people who sing who don't do it, that's be like getting on stage and not tuning your guitar.
Right, absolutely.
So that is critical. But, I have a lot. I've never been nervous ever, except for the very first performance I ever gave. But I do have a lot of, anxious energy before the show. So, kind of before the show is a lot of pacing, and I'm just excited to get out there. Connecting with the band is another thing. Oftentimes we'll all kind of huddle up with our arms around each other, and everybody's got to look into everybody's eyes,
Right.
So we can all really get connected. And, probably some sort of whiskey.
Yes, definitely. Definitely got to do that. So what's the craziest thing that's ever happened while you've been on stage?
On stage? Oh. Well, I one time had the worst thing that ever happened, which was we had put this show together in L.A. at this place called Hotel Cafe, and it was a big deal for us. It was our first kind of big L.A. show, and it meant a lot. And we just had a few miscalculations. We had played a show the night before in San Diego and went and hung out at the beach all day, and just dehydrated, sunburned. Just pulled in a little late, and we had come from monsoon season in Arizona, and got out there to the beach, and then the sun and the guitars, and I had this old hollow body guitar, and what happens is the place is packed. It was everything that we had hoped for our set, and we got up, and I couldn't tune my guitar. I couldn't get my guitar in tune, and I'm standing up there on stage trying to tune my guitar, and it's just insane, and my tuners aren't working, and they're flashing at me like a pinball machine, and I'd probably had a few too many whiskeys that night, and I just couldn't figure it out. The band's just kind of sitting there, we're vamping, some kind of sounds, just and slowly but surely the audience just clears out till about a quarter of the room was left, and we just decided to start with an untuned guitar at this point. It had been about 15 minutes of our set time, and I remember we played about 4 songs that I could kind of hide that my guitar wasn't working, and then I just ran off the stage. It was I always said it was like an Alfred Hitchcock movie, with the, I'm just flustered, and I ran out of the side door of this club into the middle of downtown Hollywood, all these clubs, and I went and sat in an alleyway, and just I really wanted to die.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. I mean, to conceive. I mean, at this point, I'd been a musician for 7 years. I'd been actively touring, it's such as to say, not just playing a guitar for 7 years, but I'd been performing and releasing albums, and couldn't get my guitar into it. It was the most humiliating thing I ever went through.
Wow.
I really, really pondered suicide that night. I thought, I don't know how I could come back from this, but I didn't kill myself, thank God.
Yes, thank God. Definitely. So do you have a plan a backup for in case something like that ever
Yeah.
happens again?
Well, what I have learned in my age is that never more than one drink before I perform. So you could always be in a clear state, But, I mean, it kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier, I guess, when you said about the rituals is, if we're going to go to the work of performing, like really, really honoring that time before it. It's not a time for socializing. I mean, a little bit, but I mean, it's really, hey, you got a job to do and treating it that way. I mean, if you've conjured people to come out, you want to give them the best thing you can. And I think that helps. I always also bring a backup guitar now. That helps too.
So celebrate after the show.
That's better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What's your favorite song to perform off of the new album?
Off of the new album, probably this song called Morning Dove. It's a deep cut. It's one of the last songs on the album, but it's a real beautiful song. I wrote it at an ayahuasca ceremony, and what I like about it is it starts very meager and open. It's just kind of my voice and some guitar swells, and then it just builds to this huge crescendo. And I think what I like about it is kind of the musical trajectory from so open and sparse to so like kind of powerful and psychedelic, but also like it's a really vulnerable song. It's kind of like pondering like what it's like to be in the most lonely spot and longing, and but then finding power in that. That like once you've been in that spot, that there's a real strength that you can draw on.
Like sitting in an alley after your guitar wouldn't tune.
Yeah, I've been there.
And then coming out
I've
of
been
it.
much worse. You didn't ask the craziest thing in my life. You asked the craziest thing in music.
Yes, absolutely. I try to keep it somewhat safe.
It could get hairy if we talked about that.
Oh, yes. So you have a song that's difficult to perform?
I've welled up crying a few times rehearsing that one, just kind of getting, at rehearsal, getting into the moment, and like kind of brought up the tears. But no, I love to perform. I've done it so many times now, and I do it so much less frequently now that the only thing that's a problem to me about performing now is I just feel like, how do I really embody the moment? Because it goes by like, this show we've got coming up this week at Crescent Ballroom has been, a year and a half in the making, and I'm just like, I want to really be in it and take it all in, because it'll be over before I know it.
Yes, definitely. But as far as like a song that you have that is a little more technical than others or the rest, do you ever do one that's a little more difficult to perform as far as technicalities?
But none of my songs, I'm more of a Neil Young kind of guy than a Rush kind of guy, so nothing's all that progressive over here. But I've also got the fortune, I've got a very talented band.
Okay.
Every one of my band is so dang good that if I'm ever having a moment, I can just kind of hide behind them a little bit, and musically, and no one's ever any worse off.
Okay. So locally within the entire state, where's your favorite local venue to play at?
I love the Crescent Ballroom where we're playing on Saturday, but I mean the Van Buren is a crown jewel of America. I've had the fortune to play there twice. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. I hope it does, but it is. Have you been to the Van Buren?
No, not yet.
It is just a magnificent venue, and you got to have a lot of people in there.
Right.
You got to have 1,000 people or so, maybe more the better. But their green room area is unbelievable. I'd like to live there. Definitely the Van Buren.
Okay.
But some other places, that are special to me is, Crescent, Last Exit Live here in Phoenix is really a home. I love Club Congress down in Tucson, where we're playing in a few weeks. Up in Flagstaff, you've got the Orpheum Theater and kind of the quintessential dive bars that we play from time to time, or the Monty V up in Flagstaff. Had some real barnstormers there. Okay. It's okay to drink a lot when you do that one.
Okay.
The Spirit Room in Jerome.
Okay.
Those are some of my favorites.
Okay. Nice. So let's see. If you could play anywhere in the world stage, where would it be?
I mean, Red Rocks is it. I meditate on manifesting Red Rocks one day.
If you go, I'll be a roadie.
Sure, I'll let you know. We'll need those.
I would like to hear you in Red Rocks.
I hope it happens.
That would be phenomenal. I would like to hear a lot of bands up there, but definitely you. For me, there's something holistic, essentially, I think. I don't know if that's... But there's just something, and for me, I just sit back and I just veg, and it's just very relaxing and opens up the voids and just lets things escape that need to escape. Because the things that don't, we won't let.
Right.
Let's see. Nowhere overseas to play?
That I would want to play? I mean, if we're just going crazy with it, I'd love to play something like Glastonbury.
Okay.
The big music festival up there. Seems like a lovely big event.
What's the best thing about being a musician?
The girls. No, I'm just kidding. I think that feeling, it's twofold. One, that feeling when you've written something that is good. Like this is special. I've captured something, but really the best thing is playing music with other people, and that synergy that happens when everybody is just tight and hitting together, and you're even if it's at a rehearsal, just that feeling of making music with other people. It's special. It's a gift.
I always grit my teeth on this one because I think it's been taken wrong before, but what's the worst thing about being a musician?
The torture. The torture of, at least for me, I think all of us are tortured in some way. I think there's just always this feeling that you haven't done enough,
okay.
That drives you and drives you crazy. I would imagine to some extent that's what causes so many of the great ones to overdose and whatnot. I mean, it seems like the type of person who becomes a musician, not without exception, but is a bit tortured, and
okay.
Ideally we can find a way to navigate that and work with it, but I think that's why you see so many people dying of overdoses and suicides.
Right. Okay. Has the audience ever taken over a song for you?
In a good way?
Of course.
Is
there a bad way?
Well, I mean, if you were heckled or something, there's one of our songs, Patsy.
Yes.
That seems to have really won people's hearts, and the last couple of years when we played in Phoenix, the crowd will start singing the refrain, and it's really a wonderful moment.
Awesome. And if you ever run into a block when you're trying to write, other than just leave it back away from it, the typical just leave it. Do you have any other way of fighting through?
Definitely hiking.
Hiking?
I think getting out on a hike, and that's kind of like I consider walking meditation, and you get out there and you can kind of wrestle with it a little bit, and that movement kind of unlock your brain a little bit from whatever you're clenching onto so that things can flow. I mean, blocks are always about, something's not flowing. It was just like with plumbing or something, so what can you do to loosen that up a little bit?
Okay. So let's say you just decided to stop Decker and do a whole new project. Would you rather be the A musician in a B band or the B musician in an A band?
That's a really good question. What would I rather do? Well, right now I'm not even the A musician. I'm a B musician in a B band. I think it would be neat to experience being in an A band and playing Red Rocks and all these places and having that experience. I'm sure those people struggle with the ego portion of that, but I wouldn't mind some years of flying in jets to playing for tens of thousands of people.
Definitely. Okay, so with the changes in the industry over the last 30, 40 years, what do you consider a successful career today as opposed to early 90s and before? Back when it was all about sales and record sales, the gold album, the platinum album. Now it's all about streaming, and you still get sales, but there's a whole lot more maybe business end on it nowadays for bands. I
can only speculate because I only really knocked at the door. I don't think that I ever really cracked through to what I would consider successful. I don't see it happening, but I have pontificated on this, and I think success as a musical artist would be you were making the music that you wanted to make without influence from outsiders, and that was somehow being received by and desired by an audience to the point that you were able to go play sustainably to large audiences who were also wanting to consume that in a way that helped you be able to make a good living.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and go into the quick intermission, and we'll play the second song for the evening. And this is Decker again on the Yeti Radio with Mojave.
Flowers on a grave with a daisy and a rose for you. Watered by wild eyes, surrendering the pride to truth. And I hope a rattlesnake don't get bit by you. And I was hoping you could stay and come and bite me too. The sun was drowned out by the rain while we prayed that dead flowers could bloom. And it's more than thunder clouds when the silence is so loud, it's a tune. I carved your name into my heart, you dissect with this blunt little tool. You turn the tables to the page, but this won't conclude so soon. Oh, see me now. See me like you did back then, you see it through somehow. Yes, I see you when you see me as your truest love, you see me as your friend. They put a lock upon my cage and I think they put a window too. Salvation stitches on my heart, where's the nurse I need to dress this wound? And I hope the Novocaine will help to numb my tooth. Now
Mojave by Decker, right here on the YetiRadio.com. Back in the studio. You want to tell us a little bit about Mojave?
Yeah, Mojave. I wrote one day. I was hiking. On a summer day, and it was kind of at the furthest point out, and I saw this monsoon rolling in, epic. I mean, lightning, and it was kind of, you could hear the thunder reverberating through the canyons, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. And so I was just kind of hoofing it with a little more pep in my step to get out of there, and it came, and I was just getting rained on, and I guess I was also going through some tough stuff, and that was the first flowers on the grave with the daisy and a rose for you. And just kind of kept spinning the lines around from there. The best line of the song is, "I hope a rattlesnake don't get bit by you."
All right.
So, yeah. It's kind of a song about parting ways with someone you love in that phase where you're a little more angry about it than the acceptance phase.
Right. Due to whatever was transpiring prior to that happening.
Right.
Okay. I can say I've been there. So, yeah.
Most of us have.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and that's why on my website I have the donate logo for being an organ donor, and then the suicide hotline number. I need to find the text number. It's like 3 digits. I can't remember what it is. I heard it the other day. I need to find out what that is and put that on there as well. But my background is from an STP concert that 2 days later, one of the guys that went with me took his own life. And that was... I'm not happy when I lose anybody.
Yeah.
But I'm really not happy when I lose somebody to suicide.
Sure.
I understand people go through things, but we're here, and it doesn't necessarily need to come to that. And, it is frustrating.
It is. Tragic.
And since I butchered it, Supernova. Let's talk about that one a little bit, since we got about 3/4 of the way through it before I screwed it up. Sorry about that.
Supernova. I don't even know what that one is. I just was really wanting to write something like Portishead. And so I just kind of, that one, a lot of my songs kind of start lyrically first, but this one was more like I was just kind of working on a groove. Just wanted to kind of ding 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 ding, and it's funny, that song I really struggled with the lyrics because I didn't want anything that was trite, or cliche, and I really had to. That was one that I had to really wrestle with. And then while I was working on that, I wrote this song that comes immediately after it on the album, which is called Limbs, which you probably haven't heard yet. I would have been happy to send you the link. And I wrote that song in like 2 minutes, and it's some of the best lyrics I ever wrote. So maybe the purpose of Supernova was just to create that space where Limbs came from. But Supernova kind of is just dealing with, it's in this period, my father had just passed away from cancer. And, it's kind of like pondering about life and death, kind of this reality that we're all going to die. I mean, nobody is going to escape that. And, with that reality that we all know, like, how is it that you live your life, internally and externally? The Supernova, if you're alive for a moment, you're alive for a lifetime too. When we die in this body, still the light of the Spirit shines through. How do we approach our life in our thoughts and actions that will do justice to to what our time in this body is.
Right. I had somebody here, Jeff Senior and his band Called to Serve. One of the first interview I ever did. Talk about nerve-wracking. And he gave me a quote that because the average lifespan in our country is roughly about 78 combined.
Okay.
It's when you separate men and women, there's a gap, but combined roughly about 78, and that's about 28,500 days. And talk about a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
It's like 28,500 days. What the hell am I doing?
Right. Yeah. Really.
Especially when you realize, wait a minute, I'm already past halfway.
Yeah.
And granted, that's average. There are people that live significantly longer, some significantly shorter for whichever reasons. And your realization that dying is what is going to happen. And that's one of the things I talk to my wife about. I'm not saying that someone we love or care about dying doesn't hurt. I never say that because it hurts.
Yeah.
Because, it's not like I've never lost anybody. But my thing is, when it comes to situations that's probably going to occur or possibly going to occur, it's the one thing we're the most afraid of, but we know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I try to wrap my head around it that way. It's coming. When it comes, it comes. Nothing I can do about it no matter what.
Right.
I can just live my life to the fullest and, and take care of who takes care of me. And, it's a two-way street. And the way I see it, and I think a lot of times it's been misconstrued. Sometimes there's a lot of people that are on one-way streets, and it's tough dealing with those.
Yeah,
because you're like, you want to care about somebody, but they're all about them and less about you. And again, being a two-way street, we only have 28,500 days on average, so
yeah,
we'll deal with it that way.
Use them accordingly.
Yes. So Saturday, June 10th, Crescent Ballroom. What time does it kick off?
Doors 7, and the show starts at 8 with our good friends Mr. Mudd and Mr. Gold.
Okay.
Real rock and roll.
Awesome.
And then the Bergamot, husband-wife band, friends of mine as well. I like to do things with friends.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have some really talented friends.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we'll go on about 10 o'clock.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I shall see you then. What is the name of the new album?
Ouroboros.
Okay.
And that's kind of, the symbol is a serpent eating its tail.
Okay.
But it's really about, timelessness and, all of creation and unity is one thing. Just kind of, it's about the unity of all things, including time.
Okay. An infinity circle.
Exactly.
Nice. And you said you've been working on that album about a year and a half?
Started writing it in the summer of 2021.
Okay.
We rehearsed it for 6 months because we recorded it in kind of non-conventional way with no overdubs, all in one room at the same time. So we rehearsed really heavily for 6 months, recorded it right about a year. June 20th we recorded it in 2 days.
Wow. How many songs?
10.
10? Okay.
And so recorded it last June, so about a year of preparation for its release.
Awesome. Any music videos coming or?
Yeah, there's a couple out. There's one for Sea Change, which was kind of a behind-the-scenes sort of look, and then we did one for Supernova that was a concept album directed by my friend Maddie Steinkamp.
Okay. All right. So what's the music scene in Sedona like?
A lot of stinky hippies, a lot of EDM. I don't know. I really when I'm up there, I'm really heavily dad. You know, my son is my world. We train Taekwondo together and camp, and I do whatever he wants to do. He watches baseball with me in return.
Okay.
Which is what I want to do. And then when I'm not doing that, I mean, I work my ass off. I've got 3 enterprises, you know, Decker being one. I do a music festival up there, which is coming up in September.
I was going to say that's coming up in September, right?
Yeah. And I make a fragrance called Agua de Sedona. And I do virtually all of that. I make it and bottle it. And
oh, awesome.
So those 3 things keep me pretty busy. That and my son keep me really busy.
Oh, yeah. I know the son does.
So by the time I catch free time, I mean, the last thing I usually want to do is go to a concert in Sedona.
Okay. No, I've not been up there yet, and just kind of get a feel. You talked a little bit about Flagstaff and the one place up in Jerome.
Yeah.
And,
there used to be a lot more music in Sedona. I mean, I think there's plenty at like the bars, but I don't spend a lot of time in bars these days.
Okay.
So but there's a few of them around my music festival that are doing really cool stuff. I don't ever have any time to see them, so I just put them on my music festival so I could see them.
Okay. Hey, that's a plan. Definitely. The album releases on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Any particular time?
I guess midnight, wherever anyone's at.
And that's going to be digitally, and it'll be on all platforms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then for the concert, are you going to have hard copies or CDs?
Just vinyl.
Just vinyl?
First record, I did not do any CDs because I've got so many from my last few records. I don't even have a CD player in my car. So I don't know if I have a CD player at all, quite frankly. So we were just like, let's just do vinyl and, you know,
awesome.
Keep it at that.
So when I get one and you guys sign it, I got a spot for it.
I bet it's going to end up on that rack.
Oh, no.
Over there.
Once it gets signed,
I'd love to get you one.
So I guess we'll see you Saturday then.
All right, my friend.
I love vinyl, so that was one of the when I first met David Lee from David Lee Productions. It was 98 KUPD, The Voice. He's from Wisconsin,
right?
So, and I found him, and he's like, "How'd you find me?" I said, "I literally Googled The Voice of KUPD," and
he doesn't live in Phoenix.
No.
Oh, that's remarkable.
He's in outside of Green Bay.
No kidding.
And that's what he does professionally. He's all over the place. His website, he's got all the stuff, demos and stuff that he's done.
Cool.
And but it's a blast. So I wrote one and a liner, and I had him produce it because I can't, I don't like the sound of my own voice. So, but he did it, and it was really awesome. It was about the Yeti's rock block, and they used a little pun at Justin Timberlake. The Yeti, he's not bringing sexy back. Come on, he's the Yeti. But he is bringing vinyl back,
right?
On the Yeti's rock block, and then and I got to play a lot of vinyl for the other stations that I was with.
That's cool.
It's a little harder to do that nowadays due to the fact of lack of metadata on vinyl. So if there was a way to do that or easier than what they say, I think they should input a Shazam into their programming for your station, and whatever pops up is
right. Yeah.
That way I don't have to sit there and try and input it while I'm trying to do everything else.
Right.
Because I'm the only one here. As people have said, we want to thank everyone at Yeti Radio. It's just me.
Well, thank you.
No, I thank you for accepting the invite and coming down, and especially for the new album coming out. That's one of the. I enjoy all the interviews, but when they're special and you get to promote something that's new and coming up, it's an honor and a pleasure for me, because that's all of it's the reason I do this. But that's one with an exclamation point behind it, just so that it's out there.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been doing this long enough and lived long enough that for me, I really appreciate anybody who supports the music in any way. So it means a lot to me as well.
Awesome. Well, when we get done, I do have a couple of favors to ask of you. And but we'll go ahead and get to the closing song for tonight, unless you have something you would like to add.
Hey, I just want to thank you again for having me out to Yeti Radio today, and thanks for the support.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, come on out June 10th, the Crescent Ballroom, and check out our new album, Ouroboros.
Okay. Is there somewhere they can buy tickets?
Online. These days, I was thinking it used to be so exciting to get
your website.
Go down to the on my website, deckermusic.org.
Okay, deckermusic.org. Get your tickets for the Crescent Ballroom Saturday night the 10th. Doors at 7. Mr. Decker goes on at 10. Check him out. But right here on the Yeti Radio, Sea Changes with Mr. Decker live in the studio.
Silence we stay, in stillness we wait, our lives rearranged by the price paid with pain. Do you remember twilight? You see the whites of my eyes. It's safe to find. Well, say what you want and say what you will, but remember the cost for failure to forgive. If the weight of the loss is the weight of the guilt, I surrender the blame for the space we can heal, for the space we still live. But stay, won't you wait for this moment to rise? Safe are you, safe are you, safe now to find. See the whites of your eyes. That walking in the dark? Who was that singing to the stars? Time is now not forward or behind. What was that voice inside your mind? Or was telling you lies? 'Cause I remember the flames, I remember the chill. You will remember your light when you surrender to feel. Will you measure your heart? Will you measure your will? 'Cause the voices will come, then the voices will kill. 'Cause the choices we've made from first breath to the grave are the same as the sun. The consequences we face when the past comes to haunt and the storm's still not tilled. It's the ghost of the past, like statues standing still, in the time standing still. But stay, won't you wait for this moment to rise? Safe are you, safe now
Mr. Brandon Decker in the Yeti Radio studio. Again, sir, thank you very much for coming all this way and hanging out and helping me help you spread the word about your awesome music and your new release party on Saturday. So look forward to seeing you there.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you there as well.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching and joining us during and after the fact. I'm the Yeti. It's the YetiRadio.com, live on YouTube. Have a great evening.
Can you dig it?
The Yeti.
Can you dig it?
The Yeti.
Can you dig it?
The Yeti. The YetiRadio.com. Kicking up the dust in the desert on the Phoenix music scene. Oh, yeah.